What's up, everybody? This is Neef Beats with Crank by Neef at Hit Club Studios, and today we're going to go over a reverb that I like to use, a reverb that I use a lot. You know, I'm not necessarily going to teach you how to use a reverb, just kind of explain the parameters on this reverb, and the reverb that I use a lot is Reverb. I don't use it. It's not the only reverb I use, and it's not the best reverb in the world. The best reverb to me is Valhalla Reverb, but I like this reverb a lot. I've been using it for a long time, and it gives me what I need. It's by Waves, Reverb, Renaissance Verb. Their Renaissance plugins are pretty good. All right, so these are the basic reverb parameters. So just to start off, let's go ahead and just take this reverb off because it may confuse you guys. So no insert. So before you even reverb, this is just a rule of thumb. And I didn't name this, but this is my reverb track, so you can see. You want to put a cut. You want to take all the low end out because you don't want to put reverb on low frequencies. It just makes the mix muddy, extremely muddy, and you can't mix that out. Well, you can mix it out, but you would have to do this. You want a high cut because you don't want any crazy high frequencies. You know what I mean? Cutting through the reverb. Because it'll be a lot. Because reverbs are nothing but reflections, so you'll basically just be like having a lot of high pitched reflections, and it just sounds harsh once you add that many reflections up to create the reverb. So back to the reverb. So you can grab any EQ and do that. High pass filter, low cut filter, low pass filter. Anyways, so you got pre-delay. Pre-delay is basically the time that it takes for the delay to actually hit. So it's the time, like you have the initial attack from so let's say you have a snare. You have the transient. The pre-delay is the time that the reverb actually starts being used on the sound, or when it's affecting, or when it's being activated. Yeah. The pre-delay is what time after the transient hit or the attack of the sound wave hits, what time is the reverb going to actually be activated? And, you can actually make it before the time, or you can make it after. You know what I mean? If you make it before, it's kind of like once it hits, you know what I mean? The reverb will already be on there. Afterwards, it's kind of like when you think about reverb in a realistic form, once you hit something, it takes time for those reflections to come. So it's like usually when you hit something, you hear the reverb afterwards, or the echo or whatever, the room reflections after the hit. So, you want to make that however you want to make that. The time is for how long the tail, or how long the reverb is actually going to ring out. And as you can see, the more I turn the time down, the dampening goes down. Because more time means more reflections can build up, and that means it's more frequencies clashing and, just hitting each other. And it's not always a bad thing, because sometimes, a lot of times it's for effect, but sometimes it can muddy up a mix. So you just want to know what these parameters do. The size is basically the size of the room. So how long does it take those reflections to get back? So the size, this is the size, or whatever. Diffusion. So basically let me explain diffusion in a way where you guys can really understand what diffusion is. Diffusion refers to the number of directions in which the reverb travels once it hits the reflective surface. So basically, a high diffusion results in a thicker reverb sound with all of the reflections blending together, where a low diffusion can result in the reverb reflections sounding much more distinct. So, it's all about what you want to do, man. Decay. And so you're thinking like, okay, time and decay, what's the difference? Because time is about how long, it takes for the reflections to bounce back. But the decay is the time required for the reflections to die away. So, the lower, the shorter the decay, the higher, the longer the decay. You could just make it linear. The early reflections. So I want to tell you guys in the right way. So I don't steer you guys wrong, So, okay, whatever. Early reflections are those that reach the listener a few milliseconds after the direct signal arrives. Your brain uses them to identify the size of the room you're in. If you're trying to simulate a specific type of room, this will control that. So yeah, and it's kind of like, I'm gonna go over pre-delay one more time, so that you guys pre-delay is the time the end of the initial sound and the beginning of the first reflections begin all of. So a lot of these things, they're just to be extremely surgical. This is the reverb level. This is just turning up and down. This is a wet dry. This is what you would use if you put it directly on the track. You would use this, but if you put it on an aux track, you already have a wet dry when you use the bus track that it's on, that you sent it to. This is the gain of the actual whole reverb plugin. So that's pretty much it. That's a reverb I like to use. And if you use it right, you can get it to sound. I'm gonna mute the beat.
Tonight we gon' do this shit different. This shit gon' hit different. Feel a little different when you go down south. Pin my legs back when you kiss it. I love the way you.
Actually, I think I doing all that to the track actually changed some stuff around. 'Cause this was at 4, if I'm not mistaken. And this was maybe at like 80. So let's put these back. And where was this?
Tonight we gon' do this shit different. This shit gon' hit different. Feel a little different when you go down.
So that's it. Follow, like, and subscribe. And I'm out.